Part 10. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 91. Anziran and Nanyan were connected by microphone. Tao Qingming's voice came through the headset, and he could hear it clearly. Also, what is your name, Nan Xiao? Where are you, Yanyan? Why is there an old man's voice beside you? Anziran felt anxious. If he was not in a closed training base, he would definitely go to Nanyan to see what was going on. Nanyan said calmly, I'll explain to you later. I'll download the game first. Tao Qingming couldn't hear Anziran's voice. Nanyan was wearing headphones, but from her answer to Anziran, it seemed that he had caused her trouble. Nan Xiao, did I bother you? In order to wait for Qin Lu to come, Nanyan did not stay in the room that Tao Qingming had arranged for her before, but stayed in the living room. No, Nanyan smiled with her lips curled, and her clear peach blossom eyes curved beautifully. Mr. Tao, then I will leave with my brother first, and meet at the hospital tomorrow. Tao Qingming nodded, okay. Qin Lu had just parked the car outside. When he got out of the car, he saw the little girl walking towards him with a backpack, wearing casual clothes and a cap on her head. Brother. Nanyan greeted him obediently. Qin Lu looked at her, have you packed everything? Well, because I only stay for one day, I didn't bring much. Qin Lu took the backpack from the little girl and nodded politely to Tao Qingming, Mr. Tao, I'll take the people first. Tao Qingming smiled and said, okay, go slowly on the road. There was only a backpack, and it was not put in the trunk, but directly in the back seat. Nanyan sat in the co-pilot, buckled her seat belt and clicked on the message sent by Anziran. Yan, tell me the truth, where are you, who is that brother, who is the person who just spoke? Anziran finally spoiled a sister sincerely and cared about her very much. He was afraid that she would be deceived and that something would happen to her. He wanted to make up for what he owed her in the past 18 years. Tell her that her family doesn't care about her and doesn't like her, so he will spoil her and take care of her. He has been financially independent for a long time. He has his own AEG team and is also a shareholder of the team. In addition, he is a star esports player with endorsements and appearance fees. He can give his sister whatever she wants. She doesn't need another brother at all. Of course, Anziran's inner activities are not detectable by Nanyan through a screen. Nanyan pinched her eyebrows and tapped her fingertips on the screen. Have you seen that brother? The one who just spoke is Tao Qingming, Mr. Tao, fourth brother. You train well, I'm fine here. Anziran, oh. After knowing the other party's identity, Anziran breathed a sigh of relief. He had seen Qin Lu and knew that he had helped Nanyan before. And Tao Qingming, he knew even more. The director of the first hospital, Chinese Medicine Hospital, and the president of the Chinese Medicine Association. However, he didn't know how his little sister got in touch with Mr. Tao again. Listening to Mr. Tao's attitude towards his little sister, it was obvious that the two had a good relationship. Anziran scratched his gray hair, confused. Just forget about it, let's train first. Hashtag. The car stopped in front of an extremely magnificent manor. Nanyan looked through the car window and understood how deep the Qin family's background was. The manor in front of her had at least 100 years of history, magnificent and covered an extremely large area. The guard saw Qin Lu's car and let it go directly. Yan, get off. The low and magnetic voice seemed to be spoken in her ear in the quiet car. Nanyan's ears felt hot. She turned off the phone and replied obediently, okay. Qin Lu turned his head to look at her, only to see the little girl lowering her head, looking as obedient as she could be. Is this, worried that he would find trouble later, so he showed his goodwill first? Little friend, are you feeling guilty? Nanyan. She is not feeling guilty. But, there is no need to explain it like this. She raised her head and smiled in a flattering way. Brother, Grandma will be waiting anxiously soon, shall we go see her first? Okay, wait till tonight, brother will ask the little friend again. Nan Yan. It seems that this disaster is not so easy to get through. Hashtag. Old Lady Qin knew that Nan Yan was coming in advance, and she was waiting in the living room early. Aunt Li, who had served her for decades, heard her talking about Nan Yan in her ears since she came back yesterday. Now that she is coming, she is also waiting here eagerly. Old lady, is this little girl really as good as you said? Aunt Li always felt that her adjectives were a bit exaggerated. She has lived in the Qin family for more than 10 years, and her vision is naturally high. Over the years, she has seen many young ladies from wealthy families and ladies from scholarly families. Especially in the imperial capital, where there are many outstanding people and beautiful women from famous families, all of them are good-looking and have good temperament. But the old lady actually said that her granddaughter-in-law is better than those young ladies from famous families. Of course, when you see her later, Arui, you will know that what I said is the truth, not an exaggeration at all. Old Madame Qin smiled, with a kind and excited face. The Qin family has many descendants, and there are also a lot of young grandchildren. It is possible that there are almost no grandchildren who are so blatantly liked and favored by the old Buddha. The old lady is extremely strict with her descendants, and she is used to being strict at home. Except for the eldest young master, no other young master or young lady is not afraid of her. So, Li Ma never thought that the old lady could be so kind to people. As Aunt Li was muttering, two figures appeared at the door. She quickly opened her eyes and looked at the little girl. She was so shocked by her young master's attitude towards the little girl that her jaw dropped. Is this still the cold and indifferent young master? Not only did he carry a bag on his shoulder, but he also had a faint smile on his face and touched the little girl's head with his hand. This. Aunt Li was a little unable to accept it for a while, and turned her head to look at the old lady. It turned out that the old lady's reaction was even greater, and she had already stood up anxiously. Yan Yan, you are here, the old lady was tearful, I miss you so much. Aunt Li. This made her even more unable to accept it. How could the old lady, who had been strong for half her life, show such an expression? However, the future granddaughter-in-law of the young master is really beautiful. Compared with those famous ladies she had seen, she is more beautiful. Her temperament is not bad either. Nan Yan took Qin Lu's hand off her head, walked quickly to the old lady, held her arm, and smiled helplessly, Grandma, we haven't seen each other for only one day. In fact, it's not even one day. After all, we had dinner together yesterday evening. The ancients said that one day apart is like 3 autumns. We haven't seen each other for a day and a night, several autumns, of course Grandma misses you. Nan Yan. This is a bit too exaggerated. Qin Lu put his backpack on the sofa, glanced at the old lady Qin, and pulled the corner of his mouth, Grandma, can you restrain yourself a little? Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 92. Ms. Qin choked on her grandson, rolled her eyes at him angrily, and pulled Nan Yan to sit on the sofa. Li Ma looked at the scene with horror and novelty. I couldn't help but think, this young master's girlfriend is really amazing. You can subdue the old lady like this. The old lady finally got over her excitement and remembered to introduce Nan Yan to Mother Li. Yan Yan, this is Mother Li. Hello, Ma Li. Nan Yan smiled like a good girl. Hello, Mother Li smiled from ear to ear, and diligently pushed the fruit plate in front of Nan Yan. Ms. Nan, you eat the fruit. Nan Yan did not hesitate and took an orange. After peeling it open, I tasted one piece and it was quite sweet. Then I broke open the other oranges in my hand and handed half of them to Ms. Qin. Grandma, it's delicious. Ms. Qin took it over with a smile. Yan Yan, you don't have to be formal when you come to Qin's house. Just treat it as if you were at your own home. Grandma has arranged a room for you. If you come to the imperial capital in the future, just stay here directly. Don't live outside. Do you know? Cannot refuse. Otherwise, the old lady should cry with her again. Qin Lu looked at the old lady who had been coaxed by Nan Yan and interrupted her chatter. Grandma, should I take Yan Yan to see her room first? Ms. Qin originally wanted to take Nan Yan to see it herself. Then he suddenly realized that his eldest grandson had not caught up with anyone yet, so he had to create more opportunities for the two of them to get along. He sat down again with his butt raised, waved his hands and said, "Oh, that's right. Quick, Alu, take Yan Yan to see her room. If there's something you don't like, try it again while you still have time." Qin Lu picked up her bag again, walked to her, and pinched her cheek gently like a funny cat. "Yan Yan, go upstairs with brother." Okay. Nan Yan stood up and said to Ms. Qin, "Grandma, let me go upstairs and take a look first." Go. Ms. Qin had a smile on her face and waved to her. The two went up the stairs one after the other. After turning the corner and losing sight, Ms. Qin quickly asked Molly impatiently, "How is it? How is it? Is my granddaughter-in-law good? Does she look good?" "Good boy, you look good," Li Ma nodded quickly. "It's just that she looks too young. Their eldest son is already 24, but this little girl only looks about 17 or 18. Although the age difference is not big, it is obvious that the girl is still in high school. This young master is too much of a beast." Mother Li didn't even dare to say this in front of the old lady. Alas! Ms. Qin was a little melancholy when she mentioned the age difference. "It's just that she's too young, so I can only coax her first. But Alu likes whoever it is. The point is, she likes it too." After so many years, it was rare for Alu to let go. He had to stay in the Qin family no matter what. Mother Li was also a little worried. "You are so young, what if the young master bullies someone?" Although the eldest young master seems to be stoic, it is because he has never met anyone he likes before. "If you really like it, can you bear it?" When Ms. Qin heard what she said, her face suddenly darkened. "If Alu dares to bully Yan Yan, I will break his legs." The old Qin family still needs face. How could they do such a beastly thing? Don't be anxious. I see that the eldest young master is very precious to Miss Nan. He has always been a steady person and will not do anything that goes beyond the limits. That's right, we worry too much. Hashtag. Upstairs. Ms. Qin arranged Nan Yan's bedroom in the master bedroom on this floor. It was enough to prove how much she valued Nan Yan. After opening the door and entering, Nan Yan was a little dazzled by the splendor of this room. It's not a vain exaggeration or a vulgar way of deliberately showing off your wealth. On the contrary, every piece of jewelry here looks exquisite and elegant, not exaggerated, but the price of each piece is very expensive. A small display can buy her a house in Jincheng. Qin Lu followed her leisurely, his eyes filled with tenderness that he didn't even notice. "My little friend, what's wrong with you? Brother, please change me to an ordinary guest room." She couldn't live in this place once or twice, so it was reserved just for her. It was such a waste. Qin Lu frowned slightly when he heard this. "Don't you like this room?" "It's not that, I just think this room is too expensive," Nan Yan explained obediently. "It should be reserved for the owner." Qin Lu said calmly, "There are many rooms like this in the manor. This one is specially prepared for you. You can live in it with peace of mind." "Elder brother, is there anything that needs to be adjusted?" "No." Nan Yan sighed secretly and gave up changing rooms. She didn't bring many things, so Qin Lu put her backpack in the closet and called her to come over to the sofa to do it. Nan Yan intuitively felt that soul torture was coming. But she couldn't refuse. I had to follow him obediently and sit on the adult sofa opposite him. Qin Lu frowned when he saw her lowering her head and not daring to look at him. He couldn't help but reflect, did he look too fierce? Why is the little girl so afraid of him? Thinking of this, he restrained his aura and lowered his voice, why didn't you tell us yesterday that you were coming to the imperial capital? Nan Yan lowered his head and whispered, I don't want to trouble you. Qin Lu had just decided to have a good talk with the little guy, but this sentence made him laugh. Do you think this is a trouble for us? Nan Yan heard his displeasure and her back stiffened. Brother, that's not what I meant. It's convenient for me and Mr. Tao to come here, and we'll only stay here for one day and go back tomorrow, so I didn't tell you. It's okay to trouble Mr. Tao, but not us. This explanation did not satisfy Qin Lu. No. I came to the capital this time because of Mr. Tao's invitation. I came to the capital to see the one from the Cheng family. Nan Yan did not hide it anymore and explained it directly to Qin Lu. She did not deliberately hide the fact that she knew medical skills from him, nor did she intend to tell him deliberately. Since he asked, she would tell him. Mr. Cheng fell into a coma, and the doctors at the capital hospital were helpless. He was saved by a little genius doctor. Qin Lu looked at her, that little genius doctor, is it you? Yes, Nan Yan nodded, it's me. Qin Lu looked at her with a little more seriousness. Her beautiful peach blossom eyes were very clear, pure, and well behaved. But Qin Lu knew that this was just a false appearance she put on in front of him. He knew very early that the little girl was a very opinionated and restless little girl. She lied without hesitation, lied to him without mercy, and fought so fiercely. No matter how you look at it, she is a bad kid. As a result, the little miracle doctor who saved Mr. Cheng today turned out to be her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 93. This identity really surprised him. No wonder I saw Chen Yanzhao in Quanjing Pavilion today. Qin Lu was inexplicably displeased because of her honesty, but he was inexplicably dissatisfied. He curled his lower lip, a faint smile appeared in his eyes, and his voice was filled with laughter. Is this how you tell your brother about your identity as a little miracle doctor? Seeing that he didn't seem to be angry anymore, Nan Yan subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief and said with a sweet smile, I didn't find a chance to say it before, brother, I didn't hide it from you on purpose. Kid, you are very good. Qin Lu praised without hesitation, it's great. To be able to achieve such achievements in medical skills at such a young age can be summed up by more than just awesome. Mr. Cheng's illness is no secret. The injuries he sustained on the battlefield had already damaged his foundation. The injuries and illnesses tortured this once majestic old man and continued to consume his life. If it weren't for Tao Qingming's careful care over the years, he probably wouldn't be alive today. Imperial Hospital is owned by the Qin family. He also knew how difficult it was to cure Mr. Cheng. Today, when Mr. Cheng entered the emergency room, the dean called him once. Both words indicated that Mr. Cheng might not be able to survive this time. Later, the dean called him excitedly to tell him that Mr. Cheng was fine. This time, everything he said was full of admiration and praise for the little miracle doctor. The dean also had other thoughts and wanted the little miracle doctor to stay in the Imperial Hospital. As a result, this little miracle doctor was sitting in front of him. This was the first time for Nan Yan to be praised like this. It feels quite novel. Brother, are you not angry anymore? Nan Yan was still more concerned about this issue. She herself couldn't understand why she, who was fearless, would be so cowardly in front of Qin Lu. Obviously, he is very good to her. I can't figure it out. Just don't want to. Qin Lu laughed silently, and then said with a serious face, Yan Yan, Don't be afraid of trouble us next time, you are not a trouble. Nan Yan felt her heart suddenly warm. At this moment, she seemed to understand why she was afraid that Qin Lu would be angry. Okay, Nan Yan nodded equally seriously, I won't be polite to my brother next time. Qin Lu smiled lightly, it should have been like this a long time ago. Hashtag. After sitting in the room with Qin Lu for a while, they went downstairs together. As expected, Mrs. Qin was still waiting for them downstairs. Seeing her coming back, Mrs. Qin couldn't wait to ask, Yan Yan, do you like it? Nan Yan smiled and said, yes, I like it very much, thank you Grandma. As long as you like it, Mrs. Qin was very happy. I was in a hurry this time and didn't have time to prepare clothes for you. When you come next time, you don't need to bring clothes. We will provide you with clothes for all seasons season preparation. Nan Yan had a slight headache, Grandma, there's no need to go to such trouble. How can this be trouble, Mrs. Qin said with a straight face, Yan Yan, you only have a few clothes, do you have to be so polite to Grandma? Nan Yan. How many pieces are there? No need to think about it, if she comes again next time and opens the closet, there will definitely be a closet full of clothes inside. She looked towards Qin Lu for help, wanting him to help persuade the old lady. As a result, Qin Lu's expression clearly suggested that the old lady's approach was very suitable. She couldn't bear to see the old man sad, so she could only nod her head, okay, if you want to prepare, just prepare. But don't prepare too much. Just have 2 or 3 replacement items. Hey, okay. Mrs. Qin happily agreed. But based on Nan Yan's understanding of her, she just agreed. Forget it, she can do whatever she wants. Anyway, the Qin family is not short of this little money. Now that her medical skills were exposed, she said, Grandma, can I take your pulse? Mrs. Qin was stunned for a moment. Qin Lu explained, the little miracle doctor who saved Mr. Cheng today is Yan Yan. Mrs. Qin blinked. Looking at Nan Yan in disbelief, Yan Yan, how can you be so powerful? After saying that, she rolled up her sleeves and stretched out her hand in front of her, here, help Grandma see if there is anything wrong with Grandma. Nan Yang Xiao smiled slightly, there is nothing wrong with Grandma's body. I have checked it with you before. This time I take your pulse to prepare you with some health-preserving medicine to strengthen your body every day. Mrs. Qin was even more moved now. Nanny is indeed filial and kind, and she has secretly shown her body a long time ago. This granddaughter-in-law must not be abducted by others. After checking her pulse, Nan Yan let go of her hand, then asked for a pen and paper, and wrote a prescription for dietary therapy. Grandma, in your daily diet from now on, ask the kitchen to make more of these health-preserving soups for you, and wait for me to prepare those medicines before I give them to you. Yeah. Okay, Mrs. Qin looked at the dietary prescription in her hand and smiled so hard, Yan Yan's handwriting is so beautiful. Qin Lu had seen her handwriting and naturally knew that her handwriting was indeed beautiful. Seeing that the old lady couldn't put it down, he touched the tip of his tongue to his cheek and suddenly raised his eyebrows playfully, Yan Yan, can you help me take my pulse? Nan Yan, all right. In fact, just from his appearance, you can tell that he is in good health and has no problems. But even if he opened his mouth, she couldn't refuse. How Bai stretched out his wrist in front of her. At the same time, a small arm also caught her sight. The muscle lines are smooth, full of strength, and have the masculine beauty of a man. Inexplicably, sultry. Nan Yan didn't even know what she was thinking. The tips of his ears felt a little hot, so he quickly suppressed his unwanted thoughts and put his fingers on his wrist. How are you, little miracle doctor? Qin Lu's low and sexy voice sounded above her head with a smile. The foul tone and the name he spoke made her heart beat faster uncontrollably, and her ears, which had just suppressed the heat, began to heat up again. Nan Yan bit the tip of her tongue and said seriously, "Brother's health is very good, just keep it up." Qin Lu didn't seem to be satisfied with her answer. He stared at her casually with his deep eyes and asked again, "How good is it?" Nan Yan avoided his direct gaze and spread her hands. "That's right, your body doesn't need any conditioning at all, and there is no room for my medical skills to be used." Qin Lu clicked his tongue. "That's a pity. There is a little miracle doctor at home, but he can't use it." Nan Yan. The tone of his words really deserves a beating. He actually thinks his body is too good, too lazy to pay attention to him. Mrs. Jean was of course happy that Qin Lu was in good health, and then she pulled Molly over and asked Nan Yan to show her. Similarly, Nan Yan wrote a dietary prescription to Li's mother, and the medicine will be delivered to her after she prepares it. "It's getting late." Qin Lu looked at the time and said, "The kids are still growing, so they can't go to bed late." Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 94. Only then did Mrs. Jean realize that it was already past 9 o'clock in the evening, and she immediately said, "It's quite late, Yan Yan, you should go to bed quickly. Arui, we should go to bed too." Mother Li helped the old lady up with great tact. Before Mrs. Jean left, she used her eyes to warn Qin Lu to behave himself. "The little girl is still so young, don't mess around." But she can trust her own grandson. As a result, Nan Yan misunderstood the meaning of the look Mrs. Jean gave her before she left. She thought that the old lady wanted Mr. Qin to seize the opportunity to further develop his relationship with her. Thinking of this, she quickly stood up and said hurriedly, "Brother, I'm going back to bed first." After saying that, she turned around and ran upstairs without waiting for his response. Qin Lu looked at the girl running like a little rabbit, and couldn't help but wonder, is he that scary? Why does the little girl seem to be getting more and more afraid of him? Hashtag. After taking a shower, Nan Yan took out her pajamas from her bag and put them on. Seeing that it was still early, she was about to open her laptop and play some games when someone knocked on the door. She closed the laptop she had just turned on and put it on the coffee table. She went to open the door in her slippers. As expected, it was Qin Lu standing outside the door. Nan Yan frowned slightly, thought about it, and still opened the door. "Brother, it's so late, do you have anything else to do?" However, Qin Lu did not enter the door, but handed over a can of milk in his hand. "I'll give you this." Nan Yan then saw that he was holding something in his hand, and reached out to take it. She said obediently, "Thank you, brother." Qin Lu took the opportunity to rub her head. "Little friend, go to bed early after drinking." "Oh." Nan Yan was no longer moved by the action of being rubbed on the head. Even after she personally experimented last time, she somewhat understood his habitual behavior. However, Nan Yan raised her head slightly, looking at his head close in front of her, thinking, "I wonder what it feels like to rub Qin De Lao's head. If there is a chance, she also wants to try it." Qin Lu felt the girl's gaze, raised the corner of his lips, and raised his eyebrows at her. "Little friend, what are you looking at?" "This, a beautiful face so close at hand. It's beautiful, sweet, and inexplicably provocative. This man is too good at using his appearance advantage." Admittedly, he just asked this casually, but Nan Yan clearly felt that she was hit by a soul attack. Nan Yan narrowed her eyes and teased a little presumptuously, "Brother is handsome, isn't it for you to see?" After teasing, she reached out and pushed Qin Lu out, and closed the door directly. "I'm going to sleep, good night, brother." In a blink of an eye, Qin Lu, who was locked outside the door, was a little stunned. After a long while, he laughed softly. "Little guy, you are really brave." The milk was delivered, and he didn't stay any longer. He turned around and walked away with his long legs. Hashtag. In the room, Nan Yan bit the milk can and opened the notebook again. After logging into the game and plugging in the headphones, Anziran's team invitation came. Nan Yan clicked to accept. A team mode popped up on the left screen, and Anziran's voice came over, "Yan Yan, are you done?" Nan Yan drank milk and said slowly, "Well, something delayed me. Let's go to the arena directly. I'll go to bed after playing for an hour." Anziran wanted to ask her about today's matter, but when he heard that she only had an hour, he immediately put it behind his mind and said hurriedly, "Okay, I'll form a group." Soon, Sioke and the other two team members were grouped in, and then rushed into the arena. An hour passed quickly. After leaving the arena, Nan Yan reminded, "Fourth brother, don't play too late. You can't stay up late every day. Go to bed early." Anziran agreed, "Okay, we'll play 2 more games and then end it." Nan Yan, "Well, I'm leaving." Without waiting for Anziran's response, Nan Yan downloaded the game, turned off the phone, put the laptop back into her backpack, and then lay down on the overly large bed. To be honest, she couldn't sleep after suddenly changing places. She wanted to check her phone again, but somehow, the words of Qin Ye rang in her mind, "Little friend, don't go to bed late." As soon as she touched the phone, she put it back and closed her eyes. "Let's go to sleep." Hashtag. The next day, Nan Yan slept until she woke up naturally. She opened her eyes and looked at the time. It was already 8 o'clock in the morning. According to her usual biological clock, this was already very late. Yesterday she put down her phone and wanted to sleep, but for some reason, she couldn't sleep all the time. She tossed and turned until after 2 o'clock, and then she fell asleep in a daze. No one came to disturb her, and no one called her to get up. She slept until now. Pinching her eyebrows, she sat up, lifted the quilt and got out of bed. She turned around and made the bed before washing up. When she came downstairs, Mrs. Qin and Aunt Li were both in the living room. And Qin Lu had already gone to their company. When Mrs. Qin saw her coming down, she grinned and asked with a smile, "Yan Yan, did you sleep well?" Nan Yan smiled warmly, "Very well." "As long as you sleep well," Mrs. Qin was very happy, "I'll warm up your breakfast in the restaurant. Go eat breakfast first." "Okay." Probably because they didn't know what she liked to eat, there were more than a dozen kinds of breakfast on the table. There were both Chinese and Western styles. There was a thermostatic table mat under the plate, so the food was still warm. She picked a few favorite dishes and ate them slowly. While she was eating, Tao Lao called, "Nan Xiao, shall I pick you up later, or do you come to me?" Nan Yan said, "I'll come to you, don't bother." Tao Qingming smiled and said, "Okay, when will you come?" "In an hour, I'm eating, I'll come to you after dinner." After a few more words, the two hung up the phone. After dinner, Nan Yan didn't stay at Qin's house for long, and took her bag to take a taxi to find Tao Qingming. Old Madame Qin was unwilling to let her go alone, so she called the driver to take her. Nan Yan didn't refuse, and asked the driver to take her to Longkai Villa. After arriving at Longkai Villa, Nan Yan got off the car, and the driver was waiting at the door, planning to continue to take her if Nan Yan needed a car later. This was what old Madame Qin meant. Tao Qingming was ready and was waiting for her to come. Old Tao Nan Yan greeted him. "Friend Nan." Tao Qingming stood up with a smile, "Shall we go to the hospital now?" Nan Yan nodded, "Okay." "Yan Zhao just called, he's on the way, let's wait for him for a few minutes." "Okay, then I'll tell the Qin family's driver to go back first." The Qin family's driver was standing by the car outside, wanting to smoke a cigarette, and when he saw Nan Yan coming, he quickly put away his lighter and cigarettes. "Miss Nan, are you leaving?" "No." Nan Yan smiled faintly, "The Cheng family will drive over to pick us up later, so we won't bother you." "Oh, okay." The driver smiled honestly, got in the car and left. As soon as the Qin family's car left, another car drove over and stopped directly in front of her. "Miss Nan, are you here to greet me?" Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 95. Chen Yanzhao lowered the car window and made a joke. He was good looking and had a good temperament. He made such a harmless joke and it would not make people feel disgusted. After the voice fell, he looked serious and apologized. "Miss Nan, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting for a long time." Nan Yan nodded calmly. "No, I just got here too." "Are we going to the hospital now?" "Well, I'll go call Mr. Tao." Hashtag Imperial Capital Hospital. VIP ward. Mr. Cheng had just eaten some porridge and was in good spirits. Mrs. Cheng and the eldest and second daughters-in-law were guarding his bedside. "Old Cheng, how do you feel?" "Not bad." Cheng Jingchuan's voice was weak. "I feel much better than the past few days." Mrs. Cheng had tears in her eyes, and she smiled and choked. "Old Cheng, with the little miracle doctor here, you won't have to endure those illnesses in the future. When you get better, I'll be with you no matter what you want to do." "Okay." Cheng Jingchuan held his wife's hand weakly, and tried to squeeze out a little smile on his old face. The eldest and second daughters-in-law couldn't help but feel a sore nose when they saw this scene. Silently turned his head to wipe the tears from his eyes. The ward was warm. Chen Yanzhao knocked on the door, and brought Nanyan and Tao Qingming in. "Qingming and the little miracle doctor are here." Mrs. Cheng lowered her head and wiped the tears from her eyes, raised her little face, and greeted them. "Old sister-in-law." Cheng Jingchuan and Tao Qingming are good friends, and the two have a deep relationship. Seeing that he was getting better, Tao Qingming strode over, held his hand, and his eyes were almost wet with excitement. Cheng Jingchuan sighed. "Qingming, I'm sorry to bother you with my broken body." He had long seen through fate and didn't care about his own life or death. If he hadn't been worried about his wife, he might not have been able to hold on for so long. "It's my incompetence that has caused you, brother Cheng, to suffer from illness for so many years. But with Nan Xiao helping you to recuperate in the future, your condition will be much better than before." Tao Qingming said solemnly. "Brother Cheng, you must hold on." Cheng Jingchuan nodded slightly, and then thanked Nan Yan, who walked to the bedside. "Little doctor, thank you for saving my life." Nan Yan said gently, "Old Cheng, you're welcome. Treating diseases and saving lives is the duty of those of us who study medicine. You and I are destined to be together, and we should not die." Cheng Jingchuan looked at Nan Yan, his eyes more solemn. "Little doctor, you saved my life. If you need anything, don't be polite to me, just ask." Nan Yan smiled and curled her lips. "I will ask for the reward when the time comes. You, old Cheng, just take good care of your body now." She always asks for rewards as she pleases when she treats diseases and saves people, and she is not bound by money. For those who are rich, she will ask for more, and for those who are poor, she will pay for the medicine. She remembered the master's teachings clearly. "Okay, then I'll leave my body to the little doctor." Nan Yan felt Cheng Jingchuan's pulse again to confirm his physical condition at the moment. Then she gave him another acupuncture. After removing the silver needle, Nan Yan reminded him, "Mr. Cheng, your body can't be rushed, you need to slowly recuperate, you must insist on taking the medicine I prescribed for you." Cheng Jingchuan quickly assured, "Don't worry, little doctor, I will definitely listen to you and take the medicine on time and rest well." When Mrs. Cheng saw this scene, her tense nerves finally relaxed. It would be great if old Cheng was willing to cooperate with the treatment. Hashtag. At noon, Mrs. Cheng asked them to stay for a meal, and Nan Yan and Tao Qingming were ready to return to Jinqing. Before leaving, Nan Yan went to the Qin family to get her bag and said goodbye to Mrs. Qin. Mrs. Qin was reluctant to let Nan Yan return to Jinqing, but she also knew that Nan Yan still had to go to school, so she could only nod and let her go back. As soon as Nan Yan left, old lady Qin called Qin Lu in a hurry. "Stinky boy, Yan Yan is leaving, why don't you come to see her off?" Qin Lu. Feeling the anger from his grandmother, Qin De Lao raised his hand and pinched his brows. "Okay, I'll go see her off." "Qin Lu, I tell you, if you don't keep a close eye on her, Yan Yan doesn't want you, so don't come back to the Qin family." Old lady Qin said this domineeringly and hung up the phone directly. Mother Li covered her mouth and laughed while listening. How much does the old lady like Miss Nan? In order to make Miss Nan her granddaughter-in-law, she can say such words to the eldest young master. Qin Lu rubbed his brows and found Nan Yan's phone number in the phone book. "Little friend, are you going back to Jincheng?" "Yes," Nan Yan responded obediently. "Brother, it's a special plane. And Mr. Tao is here, you don't have to worry." "Okay, remember to tell me when you get to Jincheng." "Got it?" Hashtag. After hanging up the phone with Mr. Qin, Nan Yan prepared to get on the plane with Mr. Tao. Her phone rang again. This time it was Shen Junqing. "Sister, where are you?" Shen Junqing's voice was gorgeous, and she also had a frivolous but not frivolous smile. "Outside, is there anything?" "There's a competition tonight, do you want to participate?" "No, I have something to do at night recently, night activities, I guess I don't have much time." "What are you busy with?" "Playing games." Shen Junqing. Is it the kind of esports game he knows about? Yan Yan, you can't be so depraved. Playing games is not as exciting as racing, and you can get money for racing. Come on, it won't take you long, at most an hour. Shen Sanshao acted like a spoiled child, which was quite unkind. He didn't feel ashamed at all. Nan Yan's temples were throbbing with veins, and she raised her hand to suppress it. She said coldly, "Third brother, don't act like a spoiled child with me." "Then if you promise me, I won't act like a spoiled child with you." The slightly teasing tone was dissolute and seductive. But his voice was smiling and pleasant, which made people feel no disgust. "Yan Yan, okay Yan Yan, promise me." Nan Yan held her forehead and tried to suppress the urge to throw her phone. She said helplessly, "Okay, contact me in the evening." "Okay, okay, then I'll pick you up at your place in the evening, okay." In fact, Shen Junqing was outside Nan Yan's door at this time. Originally, he planned to give her a surprise. So he didn't call her before coming. As a result, when he arrived, no one was there. He was holding a small gift box in his hand, and was throwing it up and down casually. "Whatever you want." Nan Yan pinched her brows. "Third brother, I have something to do here, I'll hang up first, and contact you in the evening." Oh. Hashtag. The plane landed at Jincheng Airport. It was already 5:30 in the afternoon. Tao Qingming wanted to invite Nan Yan to dinner in the evening, but Nan Yan refused. Because Shen Junqing called again, he knew she was at the airport and had come to pick her up. Tao Qingming didn't insist and went back to the first hospital first. Not long after, Nan Yan got into Shen Junqing's car. "Sister, let's go eat first." Nan Yan had just called Qin Lu. Before she could say anything, Shen Junqing's words were clearly transmitted to Qin Lu through the receiver. "You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 96. Shen Junqing went to pick you up. Qin Lu's voice sounded calm, no different from usual. Yes. Nan Yan pinched her eyebrows, suppressing the guilt that came out of nowhere, and said calmly, "He happened to call and knew that I was at the airport, so he came to pick me up." Qin Lu, "Okay, let's go." Nan Yan, "Oh. After 2 conversations, Qin Lu hung up the phone. After they hung up the phone, Shen Junqing asked, "Sister, is that bitch Qin Lu still checking on you every day?" Nan Yan lowered his eyes and twitched the corner of his mouth. "I'm safe when I land." "Yan Yan, you can't do this. Among the young lovers nowadays, which one is not the boyfriend who is eaten by the girlfriend? How come you two do it the other way around?" "Because he is so powerful." Nan Yan started to talk nonsense. "I can't eat him, I can only be eaten to death by him." Shen Junqing suddenly became interested. "If you want to conquer the other party, you must not only rely on strength, but also on means. Yan Yan, how about my brother teach you some tricks for couples to get along?" Nan Yan. Regardless of whether she needed it or not, Shen Junqing began to tell her his love guide. Chattered all the way. Hashtag. After dinner, Nan Yan didn't even return home, but went with Shen Junqing to the place where they often raced. Perhaps it was because Shen Junqing and his sister were very famous these 2 times. Seeing them coming, the racing drivers were immediately frightened. "Liang Qian is still here." She looked evilly at Nan Yan, who was walking side by side with Shen Junqing, and the resentment in her eyes was like a vine, growing wantonly. Because she was too resentful, she gritted her teeth so hard. But she had suffered 2 losses at the hands of Nan Yan, and she was smart enough not to take action on the bright side. Liang Qian suddenly raised the corners of her lips viciously. Tonight is very likely to be her death anniversary. As for Shen Junqing, she would stop him. If he insists on getting in the car, then it's her fault. Hashtag. Shen Junqing was like a social butterfly, chatting freely among the crowd. Soon, the racing will begin. His racing car was driven up. This time, Nan Yan came to compete, and she sat in the driver's seat. Shen Junqing was about to get into the passenger seat when Liang Qian stopped him. "Third young master, I have something to tell you. Can I take up some of your time?" Liang Qian put on smoky makeup and wore waist-bearing hot pants, showing off her good figure. She stood in front of Shen Junqing, and a group of people suddenly started booing. The smile on Shen Junqing's face faded little by little. He looked at her coldly and said indifferently, "Get out of the way." "Third young master." Liang Qian clenched her fingers tightly. "Where did I offend you? Why are you so cold to me all of a sudden?" Shen Junqing's seductive peach blossom eyes were a bit sarcastic, and her gorgeous voice said without mercy, "If you want to stir up feelings between me and Sister Yan Yan, you are worthy of it. Don't ask for trouble in front of me, I'm not interested in you." After leaving these words indifferently, Shen Junqing opened the passenger door and got in. Liang Qian clenched her fists tightly, with bone-gnawing hatred bursting out of her eyes. Shen Junqing really did it for that bitch Nan Yan. If that's the case, then let the 2 of them die together. Hashtag. The flag was waved, and a dozen racing cars rushed out like a hurricane. Nan Yan was not in a hurry. She waited until everyone else had raced a certain distance before she stepped on the accelerator and the neon sports car began to accelerate. When they reached the first bend, Nan Yan controlled the car and turned the corner. His expression slightly condensed and he asked calmly, "Third brother, how often does your car need maintenance? If it is used for competition, it will be maintained after every competition. If it is not used for competition, it will be maintained once a month at most." Shen Junqing answered smoothly, and then asked, "Why do you ask this?" While controlling the car, Nan Yan said slowly, "The driving system in the car has been tampered with, and the brakes are in a semi-failed state. Once the speed reaches above 200 kilometers, the brakes will disappear." Shen Junqing suddenly became nervous. "Sister, we won't compete in this competition. Find a flat place and stop the car as soon as possible." He didn't want to risk his life for such a small amount of money. "That's too late." Nan Yan's tone remained calm. "My current speed has reached the critical point. The brakes are useless and cannot slow down." "Then what should we do?" Shen Junqing grabbed the seat belt on his body. Aren't we doomed? What's special here is the winding mountain road with narrow roads and many twists and turns, which is a natural place for racing. But that was under relatively normal racing conditions. They drove here in a car with a broken brake and unable to slow down. They were seeking death. Sister, I didn't expect that before I died, I would spend the last time with you. It was the third brother who caused you. Shen Junqing sounded very apologetic. If he hadn't coquettishly let her participate in this competition, there wouldn't be such a danger. She would not come here, nor would she sit in the driver's seat because of his request. Shut up, Nan Yan interrupted him irritably, don't affect my judgment. She doesn't want to die yet. After finally being reborn, how could she die without avenging her parents and herself? We will not die. She didn't know whether to appease Shen Junqing or herself. The out-of-control car was getting faster and faster. The surrounding racers looked at the car's wild dash and tried to avoid it, fearing that it would crash into the cliff. Hashtag. A layer of sweat appeared on Nan Yan's forehead. Shen Junqing became quiet and did not dare to make any more noise. He didn't look ahead or in other directions, he kept looking at her. There was no panic or fear in his eyes, he looked at her calmly. The girl has bright facial features, a pair of peach blossom eyes that are somewhat similar to his, firm and calm, and a fierce and unyielding look between her brows. She is exceptionally charming. She has the capital to make people obsessed. Shen Junqing thought to herself, no wonder Qin Lu fell into her hands. Even he was a little out of control and had feelings for her that he shouldn't have. If they really can't escape this time, maybe it would be good to have a confession before death. Nan Yan didn't know Shen Junqing's random thoughts. Her brain was fully functioning, searching for a chance to survive. The speed of the car has reached lightning speed, making extremely difficult turns and drifts on the dangerous winding mountain road. If there was a slight mistake, the consequence would be that the two of them and the car would roll down the cliff together. If they get out of here, they will definitely die. Third brother, hurry up. Nan Yan's eyes were filled with a layer of madness, we are going to have a challenging project. Shen Junqing subconsciously grasped the seat belt in front of her more tightly and said softly, okay. Sister, third brother believes in you. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 97. As soon as he finished speaking, Nan Yan stepped on the accelerator suddenly. The speed of the neon sports car, which was already fast enough, has been increased again. At such a speed, even if the brakes are applied, it may easily lead to danger. What's more, the brakes on their current car have completely failed. Another corner, instead of turning, it went straight to the edge of the road. The car jolted, then rushed off the road and became airborne. This is too crazy. Shen Junqing grabbed the seat belt harder. It was so exciting that he could even hear his heart beating hard. Nan Yan's actions were certainly not seeking death. She calculated the angle, and with the help of absolute speed, the car landed directly on the opposite road across a cliff. This distance is more than 20 meters. The roads on both sides happen to be a natural staircase, allowing the car to fall naturally. At the moment of landing, the fuel tank hit the raised rocks. These are all calculated angles. Will not cause rollover or explosion. But the oil in the tank will run out quickly. Finally, the car slowed down. Then gradually stop. Nan Yan's heart also began to speed up at this moment. Sticky, cold sweat began to appear on the palms of my hands. The tension and anxiety that had been sealed before were backfired at this moment, and she leaned on the steering wheel to relieve her condition. Shen Junqing's condition was not much better. He slumped in his seat, breathing heavily, completely different from his usual carefree self. After experiencing a life and death crisis, it was really difficult for him to maintain his personality, so let him calm down for a while. The two of them sat quietly in the car for 5 minutes. Nan Yan exhaled slowly and straightened up. Third brother, you should investigate carefully. Someone wants to kill you. There was a fierce look in Shen Junking's eyes. I know. Hashtag. They didn't finish the race, so they lost. And because these are two hills, the road here is not connected to the other side. So no one noticed that they jumped over the cliff and came to this side. The car was out of oil and the brakes were malfunctioning. Shen Junking made a phone call. Not long after, a car came to pick them up according to the location. Liang Qian stood at the foot of the mountain and saw the neon sports car rushing off the road. She thought the car must have crashed. Moreover, at that speed and altitude, there was absolutely no chance of anyone inside surviving. Although she felt a little regretful that the prey she had chosen died like this, she felt a little happy at the same time. This is what happens if you offend her. The game was over, and the winner was treated to a meal, and a group of people left cheering. Because no one noticed that scene except Liang Qian. Nan Yan's speed was much faster than the other contestants. When he rushed out of the cliff, the other contestants were far behind. Therefore, no one knew if Liang Qian didn't say anything. The rest of the people didn't even know that an accident had happened, and no one even called the police. When Nan Yan and Shen Junking took another car and arrived at the starting point of the racing car, there was no one there. Shen Junking suppressed her emotions and looked at Nan Yan with a warm smile. Yan Yan, I'll take you back first. Nan Yan understood what he meant. He will investigate on his own and find out whoever tampered with his car. No matter how clean that person's hands and feet are, he will still leave clues. With Shen Junking's ability, it is not difficult to find out. I'll tell you the results after I find out. Okay. Nan Yan looked a little embarrassed. She has consumed too much mental energy and is very tired now. Shen Junking looked at Nan Yan seriously and said in a sincere tone, Yan Yan, thank you very much. You are so long-winded. He said this sentence so many times that it really didn't bother him. Shen Junking choked for a moment, then chuckled, sorry. I'm a little excited. Take me home. Nan Yan yawned sleepily, touched his pocket, took out a lollipop, peeled off the candy wrapper, and held it in his mouth. Hashtag. Jingtai Garden Community. Nan Yan got off the car at the unit where he lived, tilted his head and looked at Shen Junking sitting in the car, thought for a while, and warned, third brother, be careful lately. I know. Shen Junking nodded, sister, be careful yourself and call me if anything happens. Nan Yan nodded, then waved his hand, turned around and entered the apartment. After taking a shower, she leaned on the sofa and sent a message to Anziran, I have something to do today, so I won't play games anymore. She was very tired and couldn't cheer up, so she planned to go to bed early today. Anziran, oh, you are busy, go to bed early. Hashtag. The next day is Monday. It is also the time when the last exam results are released. Nan Yan carried her school bag and entered the classroom of grade 2 and grade 4. The classmates in the class had a completely different attitude towards her. Boss, have you had breakfast? I bought you breakfast. I didn't know what you like to eat, so I bought some. Which one do you want? Boss, I saw you playing games over the weekend. When will you take us to play? Boss. Boss. The whole class of boys gathered around her attentively, asking for help. You are very noisy. Nan Yan walked to her seat, put down her school bag, and said with impatience on her unruly eyebrows, go back to your own seats and sit down, don't bother me. The second-year address was too speechless. Boss. The boys looked at her eagerly, trying to get close to her. Nan Yan curled her red lips and spit out a word coldly and ruthlessly, get lost. Oh. The boys who failed to get close to her returned to their seats one by one with their heads down. The one who bought breakfast wanted to put the breakfast he bought down for Nan Yan. When he caught her sight, he quickly picked it up again. The girls in the class looked at the scene with different thoughts. Only Lu Rongrong was jealous to the point of twisting her expression. She gritted her teeth and quickly sent a message to Nweo, Yao Yao, I really can't stand it. The boys in our class suddenly changed their nature. Not only do they not hate Nan Yan, but now they all flatter her. Lu Rongrong, one by one they flatter her and call her boss and buy her breakfast. It's so annoying. Looking at their attitude, I'm afraid that even if Nan Yan doesn't improve in the exam, they won't force her to drop out. Nweo, didn't you say that you signed a legally binding contract with her at that time? She can't regret it. Lu Rongrong, yes. Lu Rongrong, no matter what, I must make her drop out. Hashtag. The class bell rang. The first class is the class of the head teacher. Naturally, the results of last week's exam will be announced in the first class. The head teacher stood on the podium with a stack of test papers, and his eyes swept around the class, finally landing on Nan Yan. Classmates, the results of this exam are out. The average score of the class has improved a lot, and the reason for the increase in the average score is that one classmate's score was too good. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 98. The head teacher's words made the students in the class look at Nan Yan. Did Nan Yan really do so well in the exam? However, her previous grades were so bad that she was always at the bottom. How could she do so well in the exam? A girl said directly. Head teacher, just tell us who it is, don't keep our curiosity a secret. It's our classmate Nan Yan. The head teacher's expression was a little solemn, without much joy. Nan Yan ranked first in the grade in the total score of this exam. As soon as the sentence came out, the whole class was shocked. Nan Yan's score was not what a poor student could get. Everyone's first thought was whether she cheated. The head teacher didn't want to doubt the students, and wanted to give Nan Yan some face, but this score was really too incredible. She did not publicly say that Nan Yan cheated, but asked implicitly, Nan Yan, do you know how many points you got in the exam? Nan Yan casually propped up her chin and raised her eyebrows casually. If nothing unexpected happens, it's 2 or 3 points away from the total score. It's impossible to get full marks in the composition. When she said this, the other students in the class were stunned. Afterwards, some discordant voices came out. Cheating to this extent, isn't it blatant? If you want to get a high score, work hard normally. What's the use of getting the first place by cheating? You are so self-righteous. Even if you get a good grade first, you can get a similar score. You cheated directly to get the first place in the grade. Is this treating others as fools? She really has the nerve to say. Some whispers, mostly from girls in the class. And the boys who just recognized her as the boss, their expressions were a bit hard to describe. I want to speak for her, but I can't find an excuse. The head teacher is also a headache. Not only did she doubt the authenticity of Nan Yan's grades, but all the teachers who taught Nan Yan suspected that she cheated. After all, a poor student can suddenly improve by dozens of places, and even if he works hard during this period, it is possible to improve by hundreds of places. But for a poor student to suddenly become a top student and get full marks in all subjects except Chinese, this is simply a fantasy. Seeing Nan Yan's attitude, the head teacher could only ask more directly, Nan Yan, are you sure this score is real? The head teacher wants to ask if I cheated. Nan Yan raised her beautiful peach blossom eyes, bright and unruly, and said in a clear voice, I guarantee with my personality that this is my real score. I'm dying of laughter. Does she have such a thing as personality? It's so funny, she can even do something like plagiarism, and she still has the face to say that she has personality. Lu Rongrong deliberately said loudly, some people really have no bottom line. In order to get a high ranking and win our money, they cheated in the exam, and now they still refuse to admit it. After Lu Rongrong finished speaking, the head teacher caught the point and frowned and asked, What do you mean by winning money? Head teacher, you don't know, just before the exam, we made a bet with Nan Yan. Lu Rongrong was not afraid of being exposed and criticized by the school, and directly revealed the bet between them and Nan Yan. She thought the 1 million we gave her was too little, so she said she would give her 10,000 yuan for each rank she got. She is now ranked first in the school, which is equivalent to a rank increase of 400 places, which is more than 4 million yuan. For this 4 million yuan, this cheating is very meaningful. The head teacher's expression was completely gloomy. Nan Yan, is this really the case? Yes, Nan Yan nodded casually, her cold eyes swept across the class, and she said leisurely, so, remember to give me money. You are really too much. The head teacher's face turned red with anger. Nan Yan, come with me to the office. The monitor will hand out all the test papers, and this class will be called self-study. The head teacher put down the stack of test papers in her hand and walked out with anger. Nan Yan stood up and followed calmly. Lu Rongrong looked at her with gloating, and the pleasure in her eyes could not be concealed. She will definitely be expelled for such bad behavior. Just when she was excited, Nan Yan glanced at her carelessly. The cold gaze instantly made her back feel cold. It was not until Nan Yan walked out of the classroom door that she took a deep breath. Then her eyes became more resentful. She was still so arrogant until now, she really didn't know how to live or die. Hashtag. Nan Yan, you should explain yourself whether you cheated in this exam. And about the bet, did you cheat for the money and want to make illegal profits? The head teacher originally had a bit of sympathy for Nan Yan. In the office, she had seen Lu Lihua's attitude towards her and knew that she was not liked and rejected by her family. She also wanted to give her more care so that she could go to school well. But who knew that she would do such a thing? Teacher, I've already said that this is my real score. You're asking now, obviously you don't believe me anymore. Perhaps you never trusted me from the beginning, so no matter how I explain, it's just a quibble when you've already defined it as cheating in your mind. Nan Yan's tone was very calm, and her nonchalant attitude was very frustrating. The head teacher pinched his eyebrows. Call your parents. In addition to plagiarism, you are also suspected of gambling in a group. If something like this happens, the parents must be notified. What's going on? The dean pushed the door open and saw the two people facing each other, and asked. It's like this, Dean, I suspect that Nan Yan's grades are not her real grades. You don't know that she got the first place in the grade in this exam, and except for a few points deducted for the Chinese composition, all other scores were full marks, and she also gathered with other classmates to gamble in a group in the form of money. The head teacher looked a little embarrassed. She still doesn't admit that she cheated, and the surveillance of the exam at the time did not show any footage that could prove that she cheated. For this matter, I hope to find Nan Yan's parents and have a serious talk about it. After listening to the head teacher, the dean's expression became a little solemn. Nan Yan, you didn't hack the system and get the test paper in advance. This guess was what he thought of, and it was more reasonable. After all, the Dean of Studies didn't believe that Nan Yan could go from being the last in the class to being the first in the class. Dean of Studies, class teacher Nan Yan's bright eyes were curled with a hint of ambiguous smile, and she said slowly, I have a way to prove that I didn't cheat. Do you want to try it? What is it? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 99. Find a few teachers to set questions on the spot, and I will do them now. It will always be possible to prove whether I cheated or not, right? What a simple thing. Why make it so complicated? Nan Yan had long guessed that she would encounter such a situation if she got the first place directly. But this is nothing to her. It's just that the matter of gathering for gambling made her a little unwise. Even if she exploited legal loopholes and made the agreement legal, it would not be established if the school intervened. After all, this is a school. Forget it, it's just 4 million. Nan Yan's proposal was recognized by the dean and the head teacher. Soon, the two called the teachers of each subject and explained the situation. Several teachers cooperated very well and started to set questions on the spot. And for the sake of fairness, the difficulty of the questions was similar to the questions on the test paper. Half an hour later, each teacher of each subject set 10 questions and handed them to Nan Yan, and then asked her to answer the questions directly in the office in front of them. Nan Yan calmly sat in the position of the dean, picked up a pen, and began to answer the questions nonchalantly. She seemed casual, but she could answer the questions very quickly. She just glanced at the questions and started to answer them directly. She never stopped answering the questions from the first word. Moreover, she did not calculate the math questions, nor did she need draft paper. Her strong mental arithmetic ability amazed the math teachers. In a total of 20 minutes, which was shorter than the time for teachers of various subjects to ask questions, she had answered all the questions. Come on, teachers, please take some more effort to judge the questions for the children. The dean's expression was completely different from before. He was smiling and his eyes were full of pride. He had picked up a treasure. This little guy actually hid his shortcomings. Not only was the pervert with strong computer skills, he also knew medical skills, and now his academic performance gave him a huge surprise. From seeing Nan Yan write down the first question calmly, he believed that it was her real score. She didn't need to cheat. With her computer skills, if she wanted to cheat, her previous test scores would not be so terrible. This only shows that she disdains to cheat. As for why she wants to pretend to be a poor student, naturally only she knows. Several teachers judge the questions quickly. They are all questions they set themselves, and they also know the answers. All are checked. There is not a single wrong question. In fact, the solutions to many questions are simpler than they originally thought. The head teacher also understood that she had misunderstood Nan Yan. Nan Yan's grades are indeed real. She apologized to Nan Yan first, and then asked, Nan Yan, can you tell me, is the difference between your previous and current grades so big? The dean's ears perked up, he also wanted to know. Nan Yan still sat in the dean's seat, with her head propped up, looking lazy, because, I promised someone to do well in the exam. Otherwise, she will be transferred to a school in the imperial capital. The dean shook his head, you kid, if the Yin family knew you had these abilities, would they still look down on you like this? That's good. Nan Yan's eyes were cold, without any emotional fluctuations, at least, after seeing their true colors, I don't expect those so-called family affections. If the original owner was as good as her, she could indeed change the attitude of the Yin family towards her. Unfortunately, she is not the original owner, and she doesn't need the love of the Yin family. The dean seemed to understand what she meant, and looked at her with more pity. As a result, other teachers who knew about Nan Yan and the Yin family looked at Nan Yan with a little more heartache. Nan Yan was speechless with so many caring eyes. What else did they imagine? Hashtag. The cheating issue was resolved, and the important issue of gathering to gamble remained. Nan Yan looked at the caring expressions of a group of people towards her, and had to tell them the whole story. These bastards, the dean slammed the table in anger, they actually want to force you to drop out. You really rebelled against them. The dean was so angry that his blood pressure soared. If Nan Yan's grades were really that bad, and she got the same grades in this exam, wouldn't she be forced to drop out? If Nan Yan was forced to drop out, the school would lose a genius. Thinking of this, the dean said seriously, Nan Yan, don't worry, I will report your situation to the school and let the school reduce your tuition and miscellaneous fees, and help you apply for financial aid. Just study hard with peace of mind. The school will never let you drop out because of your financial difficulties. Actually, Nan Yan moved her mouth and was about to tell them that she was not short of money, but she heard the dean say, "If the school does not give you financial aid, then I will make the decision myself and give you all the prize money from the competition. There will be various competitions in the future, and I recommend you to participate. Those prizes are very high. Nan Yan, your talent should not be buried. And participating in these competitions more often will also be good for your college entrance examination in the future." Nan Yan raised her eyebrows and curled the corners of her lips. Okay. Another way to make money, not bad. Hashtag. After leaving the office, Nan Yan considered whether to call Qin Lu now and tell him that she ranked first in the exam. While she was hesitating, Qin Lu sent a message, "Little friend, are the test results out?" It is estimated that Qin Lu was worried that she would not be able to answer the phone, so he sent a message to ask. Nan Yan dialed his mobile number and called directly. At this time, the imperial capital. Qin Lu was in the conference room, listening to his subordinates report on their work while holding his mobile phone and looking at the message page he had just sent. Who knew that the little girl did not reply to the text message, but called instead? The company executive who was reporting on his work was frightened by the ringtone and got stuck. The following content was suddenly blank and he could not remember it no matter how hard he tried. Staring at Qin Lu, who was sitting in the first seat in a daze, the cold sweat on his forehead dripped down. God, why did you play him like this? Qin Lu muted the ringtone, raised his eyes and said indifferently, "Take a break for 10 minutes first, and the meeting will continue in 10 minutes. After that, he stood up, took his mobile phone, and walked out of the conference room with long legs. The supervisor, who just thought the sky was about to fall, breathed a sigh of relief. It was probably a call from an important client that caused President Qin to interrupt the meeting temporarily. He now has 10 minutes to organize his words and can continue speaking later. Hashtag. Nan Yan listened to the ringtone on the phone and waited for half a minute before it was answered. Across the phone, a low-pitched and pleasant voice reached her ears. "Yan Yan, did you do well in the exam? Does this man know how seductive his voice is?" Nan Yan rubbed the tip of her ear that was hot and raised her eyebrows. "Brother, how about you guess what place I got in the exam?" Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 100. Qin Lu was stopped by her question. Originally, he was asking about the little guy's grades. As a result, he became a little guy and asked him to guess how many names she got in the exam. He kept it low because he was afraid that she would think that he looked down upon her. "I said it too high, but I was afraid that she would be stressed." Boss Qin, who had never changed his expression even in serious business negotiations, was stumped. After a long while, he comforted him, "No matter how many people you get in the exam, my brother's reward will be given to you." Nan Yan. If he was simply asked to guess the ranking, what would he come up with? She twitched her lips and gave up letting him guess. "Brother, I got the first place in the whole grade. I didn't embarrass you." Qin Lu squeezed the phone's hand and squeezed it slightly unconsciously, as if he didn't hear what she said clearly. "Yan Yan, say it again." "That's right, I am number 1 in the whole grade." "Brother, don't you also suspect that I cheated?" Nan Yan was a little irritable. We won't ask her to prove her innocence again. If she had known that she would be in so much trouble if she got first place in the exam, she might as well just take the exam casually and get a top 100 spot. "Won't." Qin Lu's voice came through very clearly. "Kid, you are awesome. I will go back to Jinqing the day after tomorrow to celebrate for you." Nan Yan's originally manic and depressed mood suddenly cleared up because of his words. The corners of her rosy lips were curved, and her beautiful peach blossom eyes were also slightly curved. "Thank you, brother." There was a layer of favor in Qin Lu's eyes that he couldn't even detect, and he praised without hesitation, "Yan, you really gave me one surprise after another. Although he is very naughty and disobedient, he is also really capable. Bad and lovable." Nan Yan muttered vaguely, "You don't know, there are still many." Regardless of whether he heard it or not, she quickly changed the subject. "Brother, don't you have a job at this time?" Qin Lu leaned against the white wall with his tall figure, lowered his head slightly, and said casually, "Well, it is also important to care about the children's grades, but now I know that my brother will go back to the meeting. Yan, take care of yourself these days." Nan Yan felt the warmth in her heart and answered obediently, "Okay, brother. You go to the meeting." Nan Yan lowered his head and kicked the pebbles on the ground. After Qin Lu hung up the phone, he put his phone away, put his hands in his coat pockets, and prepared to go back to the classroom. When she raised her eyes, she saw Nweo walking towards her. Nweo learned from Lu Rongrong that Nan Yan was called to the office for cheating, and came to her on purpose. The smile on Nan Yan's lips faded, and her eyes were filled with a bit of coldness. She wasn't in a hurry to leave and just stood there waiting for her. "I want to see her, but I also want to be a monster." Nweo maintained her elegance all the time outside. Although she walked in a hurry, she still looked very beautiful. She walked up to her quickly and said with concern and worry, "Yan, I know everything. Don't worry, I have already called my mother. She will come to school soon and will not let you be expelled of. Yan, Mom will be here soon. Apologize to her and give her a step up. Mom is the elder after all, so just bow your head to her and move back to the N family. This is a good chance. As long as Nanyan needs Angia's help, she must move back to Angia. From now on, every move she makes will be under her control. It will no longer be out of her control like it is now." Nan Yan sneered, "Nweo, are you tired of pretending like this all day long? We have already broken up with each other, but we can still pretend to be sisters with her. What is her face made of? So thick." Nweo gritted her teeth and cursed little bitch in her heart. She didn't want to pretend to have a sisterly relationship with her, and she even wanted to tear her face apart. But she can't do this. Holding back the resentment in her heart, Nweo sighed and said helplessly, "Yan, it was my fault in the past. I apologize to you. Please don't be angry with me, okay? I will treat you as my sister from now on of." Nan Yan raised her eyebrows, with a playful sneer in her eyes. Then, she walked up to her, lowered her head, and whispered in her ear, "Do you know who sent you photos before that performance?" She wanted to see if Nweo could still pretend to her after knowing this. Nweo's face turned pale instantly. Those unbearable and messy memories suddenly came to mind. She clenched her fists tightly with her hands, her whole body was trembling, and she stared at Nan Yan bitterly. "It's you." "That's right, it's me." Nan Yan looked at her no longer pretending expression with satisfaction. There was malice in her eyes. He pinched her chin with 2 fingers and said in a cold and threatening voice, "I can take those photos at any time posted on the internet, so you'd better stop disgusting me, understand?" Nweo met her serious eyes, and a chill ran down her spine. Why do you do this to me?" "What do you think?" Nan Yan sneered playfully, "Of course it's to take revenge on you for what you did to me. Also, that's your mother, not my mother. Tell her not to bother me." Nan Yan didn't have much fighting spirit against a clown of Nweo's level. It's so low level that it's useless to torture. But she still wants to avenge the original owner. Looking at Nweo's pale face with fright, Nan Yan let out a tisk sound, let go of her chin, and used his fingertips like knives to scratch her chin all the way to her chest. His eyebrows were slightly raised, his eyes were cold and gleaming, and he said in a low voice like a voice from Juyo, "Nweo, from now on, I will be your nightmare." "Ah." and Weiao couldn't bear the pressure, so she screamed and pushed Nan Yan away, looking at her in horror, her whole body trembling. This is outside the office. There are not many people, but there are quite a few. Seeing this scene, many people stopped and watched curiously. Is the new school beauty and the campus goddess getting into trouble? It seems that the atmosphere is very wrong. I heard that the new school beauty has a very wild temperament. She will beat up people in fights without even blinking. It seems that Lady N was bullied. Go and have a look. Those students subconsciously walked over here. Nan Yan took out her phone, quickly called up An Weiao's photo, and shook the screen at her. An Weiao's eyes were filled with tears and she wanted to grab her phone, but she didn't dare. Seeing his classmates getting closer and closer, he screamed emotionally, "Go away, all of you, go away. Don't come here, get out. Those photos of her must not be seen by anyone. Otherwise, her reputation will be ruined." The people who were stopped stood at a place not far away but not close, and no one came closer, but no one left. An Weiao suppressed the fear and resentment in her heart, gritted her teeth, and squeezed out a sentence from between her teeth, "Nan Yan, what do you want? Of course, let you atone for your sins. In this way, if you tell your mother clearly what you did to me before, I can think about it and delete the photos."